I hope I can find the outro music for this. Maybe? No? I don't think so. Ah, there it is. Let's try let's try this.
It's mighty strange. You looking happily deranged. I can't settle in bed. Or have you picked your target yet? It's ended. Got your dog bite. It's ended.
Oh boy, once again we are back. It is Sunday, June 23rd, 2024, and you are listening to Online for Maintenance, the official podcast of MMO Fallout. This is episode number 32, and the alternative is I am, of course, your host, Connor, coming to you live from a pre-recorded session in my bedroom in scenic Buffalo, New York, where it is sweltering at a nice 82 degrees at 9:30 in the morning, and I'm trying to get this recording out before I want to die because my house doesn't have very good air conditioning. But enough about that. Let's continue on. Today's episode is brought to you, as always, by our loving patrons at patreon.com/MMO Fallout. You can join us for a simple $1 a month, but honestly, your patronage on this podcast is enough. It might inspire me to do more than one episode every 6 months. Actually, I found that being on another podcast is really all the inspiration that I need to start working on my own, because if you follow me on Twitter, you might know that I was on the Video Game Outsiders podcast a couple weeks ago, and I realized that I've been on the Video Game Outsiders podcast more than I've been on my own podcast in the last 7 or 8 months. And that's twice. And that's a problem. So we got to get the podcast back on track. Those of you who know me know that I am a prolific procrastinator. I have a tendency to find very obscure reasons not to do things and then just not do them. I've been living with a roommate for the last, I don't know how long, but he's not here anymore. And for a very long time, I was kind of recording short form videos for YouTube. And whenever it came around time for the podcast, my brain would always figure out a way to explain why it wasn't the right time. It wasn't, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow. I don't have enough. Do I have enough coverage? Do I have enough content? Do I really know what I want to say? And then the few times that I would get the confidence and the alone time to actually record a podcast, and I've done this 3 times, Audacity fucking broke. I'm probably gonna bleep that swear out. Goodbye. My audio player just left the channel. But I have 3 bad recordings on Audacity, and then usually I would spend like an hour and a half recording those episodes, and I would go back and listen to it, and the recording would be broken, and then I would learn absolutely nothing in the 2 months of demotivation that I have from trying to record a podcast. And then the next time around, I would go back to Audacity, and it would, for a program that works completely fine when it comes to recording a 5-minute, 10-minute maximum, usually like a couple of minutes for a demo video or a gameplay video. Audacity would work 100% fine, and then I would record a 45-minute podcast, and the audio would just be completely broken. Same microphone, same setup, same everything. I could literally record a 5-minute video and it would work fine. And then without even leaving the computer, record a podcast, and the recording would be completely broken. And I don't know if that's a hard drive thing. I don't know if that's an Audacity thing, but I am recording through Discord right now, which is great because I can do live videos, live audio stuff for my intro and my outro instead of pretending to be listening to it in the background. But enough about that. Let's continue on. What's been going on in the world of MMO Fallout? MMO Fallout, shockingly, still around. The YouTube channel, shockingly, still around. The Patreon, shockingly, still around. I realized now all of my all of the Patreon money goes toward hosting. And I have never bought a video game or anything, and I realized that I need to give the Patreon a little bit more love. I'm always trying to figure out something to do to get people interested in the Patreon that it also isn't greedy, because I was never a fan of the Patreon in the first place, but a couple of people asked me to start it up, and I mean it pays for hosting, and I like that. I never wanted the Patreon to be big, and it's not. And once again, I'm really good at hampering my own success. But I got a couple of things I'm thinking about for the Patreon. Possibly doing a more short form content. I'm going to plagiarize Video Game Outsiders after I went on their podcast and blew it up and talked about Sweet Baby Inc. Got them to accidentally promote a Sweet Baby Inc. Video game. But that's on its own thing. You can go to Video Game Outsiders and listen to that podcast. I talk about Steam stuff. But the YouTube channel is growing at what I call Connor pace, which for many would be pointlessly slow. We're at 213 subscribers and going up, a couple, small handful a month. See, the thing with the YouTube is that it's kind of like MMO Fallout. It's kind of like everything else that I do, where I do it for me. I do it for my own enjoyment. If people don't laugh at the jokes that I make, it's still funny for me. The videos that I do, I'm glad that I found other people who enjoy them, and I have a handful of people who are really dedicated, a couple of people who read my writing, and by virtue of not wanting to ruin this image that they built up on me, will never hear this because they do not want to hear my voice. And I love them all the same. But I appreciate anyone who comes and enjoys my stupidity as much as I do, because otherwise I'm just a crazy person sitting in my room talking to my microphone. And I do nothing makes me smile quite like seeing comments on my videos of this is like the old days of YouTube gaming stuff. But enough about that. We're gonna go into the first topic of the day, and I had a couple ideas for what the first topic would be, but this is how about not. I keep mentioning How About Notflix. By the way, you should check out howaboutnot.com. How About Notflix. It's a website where I talk about movies and I review movies. Right now I am going through as many versions of Blood Money as I can find on the internet. Blood Money is an incredibly Blood Money is an incredibly unique movie title, and it's so unique that there's about 25 films that have released over the last century that have the term that use the title Blood Money. And I'm going through each one that I can find on the internet and reviewing them. And that might be a thing that I do for the Patreon, is bring back a short version of How About Notflix. How About Notflix used to be direct to Netflix, and then they told us we couldn't use that title. And it used to be myself and two friends who would watch movies, usually bad movies, because they were on in the early days of How About Netflix, when it was direct to Netflix. This was like 2017, 2016. We would do videos based on Netflix DVD. And if you remember back then, the only things you could readily get on Netflix DVD were crap. Like just absolute direct to video schlock. And both of my co-hosts quit because they couldn't put up with the movies that I was giving them. So How About Netflix went from a podcast to a written thing that I do. Again, it's something that I do purely for my own enjoyment, and I put it up on the internet just in case somebody else has some fun with it. But those are the things that I do. What was I talking about before? Oh yeah. So let's get back to our first topic for the day, which is I'm bringing back the podcast. So naturally, it's pitch time, and it's pitch time for MMO Fallout consultation services. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've heard a lot of bad things about video game consultation services over the last 3 months. And I'm just letting you know, MMO Fallout consultation services has nothing to do with DEI. It has nothing to do with wokeism, nothing to do with political ideology. MMO Fallout consultation services has one simple goal and one simple drive to, I guess you could call it gaslighting. No, we're professional contrarians. Let's not call it gaslighting. We're professional contrarians. My job is to sit in the back of your office and say, you think this could go badly? Or I probably wouldn't do that if I was you. Or there might be a better way to do this. MMO Fallout Consultation Services provides it. We provide our experts, by which I mean myself, who have years of experience watching companies screw things up and watching people pull failure out of the hands of potentially less failure. I'm not even going to say success. Are we an expert? Do we offer expert advice? No. Do I have the solutions to all your problems? Absolutely not. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, why would I hire MMO Fallout consultation services? Well, first of all, my fees are cheap. It's a simple $100 an hour, and I guarantee that you will not need me for more than a couple of hours. And what I do is I sit in the back of your office and $100 an hour plus travel expenses if you need me to be in person. And again, my whole shtick is I sit in the back of your office and I say, probably a bad idea. Or I can look over press releases or social media posts and I can say, there's probably a better way to go about this. I'm pitching, in my last failed podcast recording, I was pitching MMO Fallout consultation services for Sweet Baby Inc. Because Sweet Baby Inc., one of their employees decided to start a campaign on Twitter to get a Steam store page shut down that was a Steam curator shut down that was listing games that had collaborated with Sweet Baby Inc. And I'm just saying, and since then it's blown up the internet. It has, from what people are saying, completely demolished Sweet Baby Inc.'s ability to control the narrative. It's become poison to have your game associated with Sweet Baby Inc., whereas before a lot of this stuff was kind of working in the background. And for a simple $100, they could have consulted MMO Fallout consultation services, and I could have said, you might not want to post this. Again, not expert advice, but a lot of times you don't need an expert. You just need someone to sit back. You just need someone to voice in your ear and say, this might be a bad idea. And today's bad idea is a Kickstarter for a Nintendo World Championship reproduction cart. And I'm going to say that this is stupid for two reasons. And I say this as someone who gets a lot of hate from Nintendo fans, because I have been accused of promoting piracy numerous times on Twitter. And I disagree with the idea that I'm promoting piracy. What I have said is that Nintendo has given the green light to pirate software, because Nintendo has taken the stores offline for the Wii U, the 3DS, the Wii, and there's a lot of games that it's no longer possible to buy legally firsthand in a way that would support the developer. And in a lot of cases, there's digital games that you can't buy, period. And so nobody's losing out on anything just because you pirate some 3DS ROM. So I'm just saying, I'm not promoting that people do it. I'm just saying that Nintendo is giving the green light by removing all legal avenues of buying these games. Now, what does that have to do with today's conversation? Today's conversation is about I have also in the past said that people who people who distribute fan games and pirated stuff for Nintendo titles are stupid. And it's because what you're doing is you are saying, I'm gonna go, you're a member of a safari. Picture it like this. You're a member of a safari, and you're passing by a group of lions, and you're the guy in the car who says, I'm gonna get out of the car and go tug that lion's balls. And the people in the car are saying, no, that's really dangerous. He's going to bite your face off and probably rip your arms off and kill you. And you say, no, I'm gonna go tug that lion's balls. And somebody says, look, there's like 10 skeletons over there of people from past tours who have decided to tug that lion's balls, and the lion killed them. And you say, no, I'll be fine. I'm going to tug the lion's balls. And then you do it, and then you get killed. But this is all kind of a wraparound way of saying Nintendo is very litigious, and you shouldn't do things that specifically provoke the lion. It's not an approval of how Nintendo is heavy-fisted in their lawyering, but it's an acknowledgement that it exists. And it's something that you can see all of my lion ball tugging my presentation by hiring MMO Fallout Consultation. Remember, MMO Fallout Consultation services, it's only sarcastic until someone gives me money. That's our official motto. But Nintendo. A couple of people got on the internet a little while back, and they said that we're gonna make a Nintendo World Championship 35th Anniversary Edition bootleg cart. And that's got to be first of all, that's got to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But second of all, in a time when Nintendo is doing their own Nintendo World Championship thing, boy, you couldn't come up with a worse combination of circumstances. Let's go back to the analogy. This is like deciding you're going to tug the lion's balls, but you're going to do it after covering yourself in beef broth. After covering yourself in beef broth while also You just got surgery on your knee and you can't run. I'm done with that analogy. Just as a heads up, I'm done with that analogy. You can continue listening. But a group of people on the internet, including a couple of really garbage tier retro gaming YouTubers. I'm talking about John Hancock. Don't think I'm being don't think I'm being too obscure on this. I'm talking about John Hancock. This guy will shill anything for a 6-inch sub from Subway. Probably not even with a bag of chips or a drink with it. But anyway, so there's a group of people on the internet who decided to make a ROM hack of the Nintendo World Championship game. This was a thing that came out many years ago by Nintendo. If you're interested in this at all, you're probably pretty well aware from Pat the NES Punk and Angry Video Game Nerd what the Nintendo World Championships is. If you're not familiar, go and look it up. It's a competition thing Nintendo did back on the NES. What's important is that there's a group of people on the internet doing repro carts. And repro carts, they're nothing new. What really gets this going is that there's 2 carts in this Kickstarter, which has been long since yeeted off the internet. But there's two versions. You can get the purple cart for $152 or a signed gold cart for $379. And again, I'd like to remind you, this is a reproduction. This is a reproduction signed by a group of schmucks on the internet. $379. Very illegal. Very and normally I think I own a couple of repro carts. I actually own an EverDrive or whatever the hell it's called for my Game Boy Advance. I don't really care about the people making repro carts. It's been going on for well over a decade. But $375 for a signed cart by some jagoff on the internet that's been promoted by John Hancock. Boy, you are looking for trouble. And they got trouble. It was definitely a bad idea having Mario on the cover after trying to seemingly get around trademark law by calling it the NWC cart instead of the Nintendo World Championship cart. Just throwing a bad MS Paint drawing of Mario on the front that looks like a toddler drew it, or more than likely maybe John Hancock did the art for it, or John Riggs, or I don't know, Metal Jesus. I have no clue. I think a lot of those guys ended up promoting this thing because they will do anything for free tchotchkes. And so it got DMCA'd. It got taken down by Nintendo. And of course it did, because you're selling a $375 reproduction cart that you have just absolutely no right legally, or I would even say morally, because it's a big ass scam. It's a big garbage scam. It feels like a pump and dump. It feels like just completely taking advantage of the retro community. And it's kind of nice to see the YouTubers getting raked over the coals for this. But again, this is something that $100 MMO Follow consultation services. I could have told them this is a really stupid idea, and it's probably definitely going to end up with you getting at minimum, a DMCA takedown. Now, and I would point out, and I would say, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a guy who's paying out the ass to Nintendo for the rest of his life. His name is Bowser, no relation to either the Nintendo person or the character. There's a guy who's currently paying for the rest of his life because he facilitated pirating Nintendo games. And these MFers are going to put up a Kickstarter for a Nintendo repro cart with their real names attached to it. Boy, that's either really dumb or incredibly ballsy. Lion's balls. And all they got was, all they got in this analogy was the lion smacked him in the head, didn't even have the claws out. But it could have been worse. It could have been so much worse for these idiots. And it looks like John Riggs is getting raked. John Hancock is getting raked through the coals, rightfully so, because he participated in a scam for seemingly nothing else other than that the guy gave him a copy. And again, I could probably give John Hancock a foot-long sub from Subway and get this guy to promote MMO Fallout like it was the greatest website he's ever seen. Maybe if I put some Mario tomatoes or something in the sub. Extra mayo. I have no clue. But again, let's talk about MMO Fallout consultation services. Would I have been able to give them the right response to this? No, but I could have been there to say, this is a really dumb idea, and this probably won't end well for you. MMO Fallout consultation services. Remember our motto. It's only sarcastic until someone gives me money. Then it's a real operation. But moving on, I have a couple more things that I wanted to talk about before we end the episode for today, because today's going to be a short one, and I just wanted to get things back on track with the podcast, make sure that my recording equipment works, make sure that all this crap works before I upload it onto the internet. And the second topic of the day is something that people have been messaging me about, because I've been a little prolific on. I've been a little bit, you could say, passionate about this topic over the last year, and it's the question of Britaria, aka Legends of Aria, aka whatever the hell it's going by nowadays. Now, Legends of Aria Classic is currently free on Steam. It has a 24-hour peak of 112 players, which is a fancy word for saying that it is unsustainable when the game eventually goes subscription only. And when I say that Legends of Aria Classic has a 112 player peak, what I mean is that there's a lot of bots. There's a lot of harvesting bots. There's a lot of people artificially inflating the numbers. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but the actual numbers of real people playing the game are pretty low. And the number of people who are going to continue playing this once they implement the subscription is even lower. And I know that that's why they haven't implemented it yet, because nobody's going to play this game. People didn't play it back when it was free to play. Nobody played it when it was a blockchain scam, and nobody's going to play this reboot. Especially nobody's going to pay $10 a month for it. Not at the level needed to sustain it as a company. But going back to Britaria announced a little while back that it is shutting down. Gee, what a surprise. And I've been saying that it's been coming for a while. Not because I'm some kind of magical, not because I have some kind of foresight or knowledge or expertise in gaming business. but because it's Britaria. Helen Keller could have seen Britaria's failing. And all it takes is for you to go, oh, you're telling me that a crypto company that has never developed a game is pulling this failed MMO and relaunching it as a crypto title during a time when crypto titles are bombing. The overwhelming majority of gamers have made it very obvious that they do not like and do not care for play to earn or anything associated with it. And again, this is a failed MMO that some company bought for pennies on the dollar that they're going to turn around and scam people who, I don't know, are some combination of gamers-ish, but mostly speculative investors. A lot of people buying characters on Legends of Aria are really buying them because they want to flip it in the future. I'm guessing a good half of the people who bought characters in Britaria didn't actually know what an MMO is. Half of them probably played a video game a while back. Delicious. I'm drinking a an orange pineapple V8 energy drink. And I was going to make a joke about how I could have had a V8, but I am having a V8. But Britaria. Like, let's look at the marketplace doesn't exist. Can you even look up characters anymore? There was a point a while back where you could look up. Oh boy. Dread, the cryptocurrency for Britaria, is just completely in the toilet, unsurprisingly. It is worth half a cent. It is worth far more than the prior scam, which was Aria coin, which is currently worth 0.08 cents. But that is, that's how it is with crypto scams of failed MMOs. And I was trying to find the character blockchain because I wanted to know, with all of the stuff going on, where I could actually find how much people are offloading characters for on the market, because they used to be $70. And Britaria, because the developers are so smart and honest, they blocked me on Twitter right out the gate. Unsurprisingly, once I started calling out their scam for what it is. And I gotta say, the idea to sell $70 characters was genius. I don't know how well it went, but it was pretty genius. I don't believe for 5 seconds that that the people at Britaria actually intended on having anything come out. I don't believe for a second that Britaria ever had any intention of actually releasing. I think that the developers were hoping to take it as far as they could go without actually producing a product. And when you're talking about something like this, it's great because you can have your you can have your cake and never deliver it, because you can have people who show up and they buy $70 pre-orders, and you didn't make the game. I mean, you can tinker around with it, but you didn't make the game, you don't have to worry about asset development. You don't have to worry about programming. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You just sit back, take in the money, and then a year or two down the line, you say, sorry guys, development didn't go as expected. We are going to, we're not going to, we're not shutting down. Don't sue us. We're not shutting down. We're looking for someone else who can take on the project to continue it. And then after that point, it's out of your hands. I'm sorry. We didn't get a lot of money. We got enough to cover development for a couple of years. And it didn't go as well as we thought. Very simple. And I kind of want to buy some characters on this just to that's 0.3 soul equals 0.3 soul equals 7 cents USD. I could probably buy a big, oh man, I could probably buy a big number of Britaria characters for under $10. I found the website where you can buy shit. Oh man, I'm gonna buy so many. Username already exists. Whatever. Man, I am going to go to town on this once this podcast is over. But the one thing that I will say about Britaria is that it's better than Grit, because Grit was a big scam. Grit was a massive scam. And the reason that I call Grit a scam is because Britaria was selling characters. And they were selling them for $70. Grit was selling characters for something like I don't know, $1,000 for this absolute dog shit tier Fortnite ripoff. Not even a Fortnite ripoff, maybe like a PUBG ripoff, but an absolute bottom of the barrel battle royale game that is complete garbage. Oh, 0.3 soul is $39. Screw that. I got my listing wrong. $39. Yeah, you guys are dumbasses. The highest listing is $8,600 for a Gen 0 number 215 character that is, I don't know, holographic, some dumb shit. The person who bought it, let's see, it was listed. None of these have ever been sold. See, that's the thing, is that there's a lot of listings and not a lot of actual sales. Oh, there was a sale. There was a sale 4 months ago for 1 soul. And I gotta wonder how many of these people, 1 soul, what's the actual USD on that? Soul balance, toll, accounts involved, transaction flow, whatever. One soul. How much is 1 soul? Let's see. 1 soul, that is $132. So some dumbass bought, and I think that this was like right before they announced that the game was shutting down. Or no, this was a little bit before. Some dumbass spent $132 on a character for a game that never had any future. That was 4 months ago. I think Ubisoft's Quartz, I wonder if that marketplace is still up. I think Ubisoft Quartz had more. No, that's healthcare. Ubisoft Quartz. I think Ubisoft Quartz had more marketplace activity than this. I want to know what the prices are on Ubisoft Quartz. I wonder if people are actually still selling shit. I'm gonna go on Ubisoft Quartz and buy some of those dev hats. But yeah, it's hilarious. And again, in a normal capacity, I would not be celebrating failure. But for NFT shit, I will absolutely celebrate failure because it's very important to me that this shit doesn't become successful. And I don't mean I don't mean crypto games as a whole, because um that's not what I'm after. I'm not after like, oh, if you make a game on the blockchain, I hope that you automatically fail. And I know that a lot of people are in that realm. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm constantly hoping that the idea of crypto companies coming in, finding these failed MMOs, buying them up for pennies on the dollar, and then trying to turn around and put a couple $100, like get these um cryptocurrency NFT pre-sales that they're grifting hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars off of morons. I hope that that specifically fails. Because if you're going to make a crypto game and you're going to make an NFT game, fine, put the work into it, make a game. Don't just parasitically come in. I can't I can't entertain the idea of companies coming in, parasitically grabbing these failed games, and then trying to flip them into an NFT game. The community doesn't like it. The game's already failed once. They're gonna fail even worse. And the only thing that you can really do with it is to scam investors. And thankfully, a lot of the investors are no longer they're no longer here. Can I get into the marketplace? Rarible. Oh yeah, they're. Oh, I think they lost one of their marketplaces. Let's see. Not for sale. I want to see the ones that are for sale. Come on. Recently listed. Not for sale. Well, what's the purpose then? I want to see the listings. I want to see the things that are actually for sale. I want to buy Ubisoft NFTs in a game that I don't play. Come on. I want to see how cheap some of them are. Place floor bid. Filters. Buy now. There's nothing for sale. Come on. Absolute garbage. I want to buy my NFTs, Ubisoft. What was I saying? Oh yeah, let's let's continue on. I have one more topic that I want to talk about before I go completely crazy, and it has nothing to do with NFTs or scams or shit. Well, it does have to do with things shutting down, partially. I have been playing a lot of Wayfinder over the last couple of weeks, and by a lot I mean a lot more than I was playing before. A few hours here and there. More than I was playing before. I want to get it on my Steam Deck. And Wayfinder is paving the way in a brand new-ish wave of games that are not shutting down, but removing their online only capacity and becoming offline games. And I like that. Because the one thing that has been keeping me from playing Wayfinder as much as I wanted to is every time I would log in, I would know that this game is doomed. Because there were maybe, a couple dozen people playing, not really a lot of people walking around, and I can play it now. They announced on they put the patch in. They announced on Wayfinder a while back that the game was going to go offline, and not offline like we're shutting the game down, but offline as in the developer is shedding the MMO portion of it and turning it into a a single player game that you can also group up with friends on, which is great because they also got rid of the monetization. They got rid of the cash shop. It is a single purchase game, and you can get the cosmetics in the game. The only downside is that progression was wiped. And it's an early access game, so I kind of assume that that might happen eventually anyway. But it's great. And it goes back to the title of this episode, which is "And the Alternative Is," where we've seen more games shedding their MMO. And I wouldn't even call Wayfinder an MMO, but shedding the online only component and putting in offline modes. We had it with Redfall, where they stopped developing the game. They stopped developing the game and they said, "Hey, we're going to put in an offline mode." We've seen it with Wayfinder. We've seen it with a couple other games, and it's a good thing, because I know that people are angry about it. I know that people, especially in Wayfinder, there's people in the community calling it a scam, which it's not a scam. Think of it like this. Think of it as this. The developer didn't scam you. This is the alternative to the game shutting down, because Wayfinder could not. There's no reality where Wayfinder was going to have a healthy existence as a game that needed to maintain servers. And hopefully what this means is that the developer can fund more development when they're not paying for hosting, when they're not paying for infrastructure, when they're not paying for like DDoS protection and crap like that. Hopefully the game can get a few more content updates, because I like Wayfinder. I think it's a good game. I think it's an even better game now that it doesn't have the online only requirement and the constant doom hanging over everyone's head. So hopefully they can do more with Wayfinder. And they have been putting out some content updates. They've been making the game run better. They've been, I don't think, really adding in any content. It's mostly optimization, bug fix, stuff like that. But it's better than the alternative. And I say this as someone who bought the Founders Pack of the game. It's better than the alternative. And the alternative is shutting down. And I know that for the most part, the community is appreciating this, because the all-time reviews on Wayfinder were mixed, and the recent reviews on Wayfinder are very positive. So I know that people are taking this well, outside of the, you're not going to please everyone, but it seems like they're pleasing the majority of people, or at least the majority of people who stuck around. And I love it. Like, the community was dead, and it's a lot less dead now, because Steam shows that there's 854 people playing. There's a 24-hour peak of 1,200 people, and you look back at the game on May 29th, and there was a peak of 36 people playing. There was a peak of 172 people on May 25th. This announcement has revitalized the game, probably put in a lot more sales than they would have gotten as a floundering free-to-play game. And this could be the best thing that happened to Wayfinder. They lost their publisher. Digital Extremes shut down its publishing branch. So if this funds updates, if it brings people back to the game, which it has, if it inspires people to buy the game, which it seems to have done, I see that as a good thing. Yeah, you can't play with a shared lobby, but really, is that a deal breaker? I don't know. The overworld feels a little bit dead when it's just you, but honestly, the whole thing is a net positive. If you don't like it, I guess move on. But it's better than Just know that it's better than the alternative. That's all I'm going to say. And the alternative is nobody being able to play the game ever because of Airship Syndicate shutting down and shutting down the servers. But that's all I have to say on that matter. Otherwise, I have no opinion. And on that note, I'm going to shut down the podcast for the day. We're going to try to do this again on a weekly basis, hopefully Sunday, hopefully on the weekends. We'll see how the summer goes with the temperature, and we'll see how the quality of this recording goes, because I'm uploading it either way. I got to be honest. Going back to the old plan of uploading the podcast on Sunday for Patreon subscribers, Monday for regular subscribers. It'll be up on the YouTube. Not doing the Podbean anymore. But you can find me on Twitter at MMO Fallout. Check us out at mmofallout.com. Jamali on YouTube. I think it's about to rain. Patreon.com/MMO Fallout. Apparently I don't promote that enough. Hit the music, Johnny. Hit it.